There are 7.7 billion people across 195 countries. And every race has their own belief systems, religion, culture, and tradition. Yet, each individual is a unique mix of their own. That is why appreciating diversity is very important to fully understand the human experience and for us to coexist peacefully. However, understanding diversity requires us to broaden our appreciation of the many facets of the human race and recognize that we have our own
Stereotypes,
Prejudice,
and discrimination too.
Stereotypes are an overgeneralized belief about particular group or class of people, according to Cardwell in the year 1996. It can be helpful in simplifying things. After all, there are 7.7 billion people in the planet. When we met someone for the first time, we associate with them certain characteristics and abilities that we usually base on the group they belong to. While some stereotypes convey positive examples, like a student from Ivy League schools would be stereotyped as very intelligent or matalino, or Filipinos being known for our hospitality. Most stereotypes, however, are drawn from negative generalizations like equating our Muslim countrymen as terrorists and viewing farmers and blue-collar workers as lazy and less educated.
It reflects our expectations and belief based on social circle we belong as we try to conform or agree to the standard way of thought. However, this stereotype changes through time depending on social and political conditions. A stereotype can be categorized as explicit, meaning a person is aware that they have these thoughts towards a group of people and they can say it out loud. It can be also implicit, wherein a person does not know if they have this stereotype since it lies in their subconscious. When the stereotype is explicit, a person can choose not to turn their stereotypes into actions, while with an implicit stereotype, a person has no control or awareness of it and it may manifest into actions or behavior.
prejudice. Prejudice is an unjustified or incorrect attitude, usually negative towards an individual based solely on the individual's membership of a social group, according to MacLeod 2008. Prejudice represents our emotional response upon learning of a person's membership to a specific group, like age, skin color, race, disability, generation, nationality, religion, sex, sexual expression, gender expression, and so on. This negative attitude or prejudice can be dangerous since it often leads to negative actions and behaviors. For example, a sexist person is someone who has negative attitude towards the other sex and sees them as the lesser sex. This negative attitude could manifest into action such as bullying, discrimination, or violence.
Discrimination. Discrimination refers to actions or behaviors towards an individual or a group of people. According to the United Nations, discriminatory behaviors take many forms, but they all involve some form of exclusion or rejection. People who are discriminated on are treated worse than the way people are usually treated, just because they belong to a certain group or they have certain characteristics. Here are a few examples of discrimination. First is genocide. It is the action of recognizing someone as different so much that they are treated inhumanly and degraded. Second is apartheid, means separateness. It is a form of racial discrimination wherein one race is viewed as less than the other. For example, the separation of black and whites. Third is gender discrimination. It is a common form of discrimination. Statistically, women earn less than men and are often relegated to be solely responsible for child rearing and house chores. Men, on the other hand, are discriminated in household responsibilities, such as they are perceived as less manly when they do their share of house chores, or when they become a stay-at-home husbands. Fourth is LGBT discrimination. LGBT discrimination happens when LGBT people are treated as lesser than straight people. Discrimination happens early in their childhood as they get bullied when they act differently or dress differently than the other kids. Restricting opportunities or privileges that may be available to other groups is discrimination, like the right to vote in national elections. In the Philippines, women only gained the right to vote in 1937, and before that, Filipino women had two legal rights even to own properties. That form of institutional discrimination was based on a logical or irrational judgment that women are weaker than men.
Freedom and equality. Article 1 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights states that all human beings are born free and equal in dignity. This declaration was drafted by member countries of the United Nations, including the Philippines in 1948. This monumental document outlines the fundamental rights for every human being that should be protected by everyone at all times. Its preamble recognizes that the inherent dignity and of the equal and inalienable rights for all members of the human family is the foundation of freedom, justice, and peace in the world. While discriminatory tradition, policies, ideas, practices, and law exist in many countries, many have shifted towards making opportunities and privilege accessible to everyone. In many countries, people of the same sex can now get married and create their own families while enjoying the same rights as straight couples. In the Philippines, all establishments are now required by law to have an access ramp for people with disabilities.
Stereotyping, prejudice, and discriminations is a sensitive issue for many people, since it can be traced to our history, culture, tradition, and religion. However, with the internet and technology, we now live in a world that seems to have no borders. It is important to create a society that respects the uniqueness of every human being and upholds everyone's dignity and rights. Appreciating diversity of the human race is key to make a safer and more inclusive environment for everyone, regardless of race, sex, religion, sexuality, gender, and creed.